It's very common in hip hop that we hear rappers talking about how they're not going to sign, they don't want the deal, they hate the labels, and you've probably always wondered to yourself, why? Isn't that what the end goal is, to sign to a label? Now, I just want to say I'm not an expert. I've never worked in the music industry, and I know a lot of friends who are in the music industry, so I have a pretty good understanding of why rappers feel this way towards labels, but I'm by no means an expert.
Had to ask some questions of myself, like what I really want. Am I really built for this, or am I just delaying bluffs? All I do is horse and beast and smoke them like some fucking blunts.
Let's talk about what a record label used to do before the internet. It was a record label's job, or an A&R's job, to discover unrecognized or underground talent from city to city. Because really, how else could you create buzz? There was no internet, so it was just by word of mouth or local radio. And they would discover that talent, connect with them, maybe bring them into the studio with better producers and much better recording equipment, introduce them to people in the industry, network them in, and give them a shot, see what they can do with all of the resources. And then maybe they like them, they like what they're hearing, they're making good music with all of the resources given to them. They talk about a deal, sign them, whatever. And then from there, the record label is going to present them to the world, whether that's through radio or TV, because that's really pretty much the only two big mediums at the time. My name's DJ Scratch and Sniff, coming to you live on Hot 97. We're bringing Columbia Records' brand new artist out of Anchorage, Alaska. Give it up for Lil Runaway. And if the artist's music caught on, then boom, big star. And if not, then the label took a big hit monetarily. Then there was from 2000 to 2010 where things stayed pretty traditional but kind of changed a little bit with the internet, but it was just kind of weird in that spot. But ever since Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube have basically run the world, labels have totally changed the way that they discover talent, the way they sign people, and just the way that they approach the business in general. Also, I have to mention streaming, because nobody buys CDs, nobody buys records anymore, so streaming services has totally changed the way the game is played. But now, for the most part, record labels aren't really interested in someone who isn't already kind of having a little buzz online. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think there's really a way that you could get your music to a label with it totally not being online. Like, if you're the hottest new rapper, but you have nothing online and a label person hears it, well, they might be like, oh, this is good, but is anybody gonna like this? They have nothing to base that off because the internet is changing and hip hop is changing its taste every couple months. So you haven't proven if you could survive yet. A&Rs are hunting through SoundCloud and Instagram and YouTube and totally different social media platforms, not even necessarily looking for just music, but they want an image, they want to see a fan base, they want to see a community. They want to see somebody who's attempting to build a brand and someone who can maintain that, and more importantly, something that could potentially grow bigger and bigger in the future. And they'll find you when you're pretty small too, especially the good A&Rs. If you're on SoundCloud and you have between 1,000 and 5,000 followers, there's a pretty good chance that an A&R has heard you and checked you out. So let's fast forward. You're putting your music on every major streaming platform, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music. You're gaining followers. You're, let's say, around 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I'm not 100% sure how Apple Music works, but let's say it's relatively similar to that. And maybe you have 10,000 SoundCloud followers. Chances are you're doing pretty decent. Your music's getting plays. People know of you, kinda. You're building a little community. There's a chance that record labels probably know who you are by this point. And you're probably roughly making around $3,000 to $6,000 per month at this point. And I'll show you how I kind of got to that number. So an artist with these hypothetical stats on Spotify, 100K monthly listeners, getting roughly $5 per 1,000 streams. Somebody with this amount of listeners is probably getting about 100K to 500K streams per month if they're consistent, which would equal about $500 to $2,500 a month. Put that on Apple Music, where you make about double the streaming revenue, you're gonna be earning about $1,200 to $6,000 a month. And then SoundCloud, which is arguably the worst, $1 per 1K streams, which is kind of a stretch because a lot of people have ad block, and chances are you're not going to get that much. You're probably going to get somewhere around 50 cents to 75 cents, but whatever, getting roughly 50K to 300K streams per month, you're looking at $50 to $300. Apple Music is the best Spotify is the second best, SoundCloud is the worst. SoundCloud, you'll probably have the most social clout, and Spotify, you'll probably have the most monthly listeners because most people use that. And yeah, roughly making about $3,000 to $6,000 a month. Also, keep in mind, this is before percentage splitting with any distribution service or any producers or other artists that you may have collaborated with, so this isn't necessarily your final number, it's just kind of a rough estimate. And this is by no means a really good living, but considering this is all music that you've created, whether it's in your bedroom or in your local studio, then honestly, I would say that's pretty damn good. And if you had maybe a breakout song, couple million plays, or you look like you have a promising future, this is probably where a label would get in contact with you and maybe discuss a deal. Obviously, everyone's different, but just stay with me. What will the label provide for you at this very moment? Well, the first thing that most people talk about is the signing bonus. What are they gonna pay you up front? Could be a nice little 10, 20, 30,000 for, you know, maybe a couple years or whatever. Could even be 100, 200, 500,000. All depends on how much time the label wants you and really what they see for you in the future. They have tons of connections, which is big. They have the best producers, the best engineers, the best studios. They know the best videographers, photographers, social media managers. They even have connections to media outlets like blogs and YouTube channels that may discuss you in the future. Maybe even bigger brands like, I don't know, snack brands or food brands or whatever that may want to use your music if it's for a commercial, or who knows. They have tons of connections and that could be potentially useful for your career. And they can put you on tours with bigger artists and allow you to go around the country and play your music live to your fans. Now, all of these things seem pretty great, and if all you gotta do is sign a little piece of paper, you worked hard, this is the end goal, right? You know, sign that piece of paper and all of these connections are now yours for free. I just want to be clear again, not every record label deal is the same. In fact, every individual deal is totally different, but these are just generally things that come along with it. That signing bonus, that 20, 30,000, 40,000, maybe 500,000, that's all you're gonna get paid. So don't blow it all. But you can still make money off tours and merch if your fans go to your shows and if your fans buy your merchandise. As far as the connections, the studios and engineers, well, honestly, you got this far without them. They can help a lot and they might be able to make your quality of music very, very good, but honestly, people really like the way it is now. Plus, there's tons and tons of engineers and producers online that will give you just about the same quality as what a label can do for you. And they'll probably do it for a very fair price. Maybe labels offering collabs with bigger artists. The chances of you being able to collab with a bigger artist are very slim, unless that artist is maybe signed to the same label and they don't have much control over their music and what music that they make with other people. I mean, at the end of the day, the artist has to like your music and want to collaborate with you. And the connections of knowing bigger artists, cool. You know people in the industry. What's that gonna do for you? If people aren't listening to your music, then it doesn't matter who you know. Social media managers, you got this. Just post, be active, don't need to get fancy, just keep your fans updated. Put you on tours, you better believe that your brand has to be able to sell tickets. They wanna see 20 to 50 people coming to the show, regardless of the headliner, just for you. No matter how poppin' you are online, you gotta get people in those doors, and it's not as easy as you'd think. And the biggest thing, probably I would say rappers hate the most, and what people don't realize is the most powerful, is the fact that the labels are gonna wanna own your music. They're gonna wanna own it. So as soon as you make it, and as soon as it's done, that song is not actually yours. And sometimes they wanna own it forever, or sometimes they'll do it for just a few years and then you'll get it back. But for the most part, they want to take your art that you've created and it's now theirs. Think about being a painter. You just spent days, weeks on a painting, you know, and you signed your name at the bottom. And as soon as you're done, somebody takes it and says, I'm gonna sell this for you, but I'm gonna get most of the money. Yeah, it's your painting, your name's on it, but we're getting all the money because we know the people who are gonna buy it. Now, you will make a little bit of money off of this, but most of the time it's around an 85 to 15 split. So they take your music and they get 85% of the earnings and you get 15%. And owning your music is big. I mean, that's your property. You created that yourself, essentially. So it's your words, it's your expressions. You should own that. They could do whatever they want with that. essentially. They don't necessarily need your approval. I'm sure they'll come by it and they'll talk to you about it, but at the end of the day, you don't make the final decision because you don't own it. So you no longer have control over your brand. And that's another thing. They want heavy creative control. They're gonna tell you what they want you to kind of express, what kind of direction that they want you to go in, because they feel like that's the best for business. They'll even do as much as organize the track lists in your album. Imagine not even being able to pick that. And we've seen rappers run into issues with labels, of course, millions of times. And most notably right now, Lil Uzi not being able to drop music because of label situation. And that's pretty tough for him considering he has millions of fans, but even someone who just has hundreds of thousands of fans, telling them like, hey, I'm not allowed to drop music, I'm not allowed to give you anything, they're gonna be pretty pissed and they're gonna blame you. And you're the one that has to suffer, even though it's not in your control at all. But to answer the question, why should I be against this? Why should I not sign? Is kind of a long answer. You gotta look at it like this. The hypothetical artist that we were speaking about, you got this far. You did literally the hardest part. You went from zero to being able to make a living, not a great living, but a living on your music. That is so hard to do. It's damn near impossible. So you have a little bit of people that support you and think that you can grow. So all you need to do technically from there is just get it to more people. It's just a numbers game after that. The more people that hear it, the more people that are gonna get behind it. And there are so many different promotion strategies and resources that you can use online. There's unlimited potential with the internet. You can reach literally anyone, anywhere with an internet connection. You don't need the labels to push it on anywhere because you technically have the same resources. It's just gonna be a little bit harder to get your foot in the door. See, the thing about being an independent artist is you also have to be a very good business person. You're running a business, your whole job is to get your music to more people, to grow it so you can make more money. That's a business. And a lot of artists are just artists and they don't wanna be business people, and that's fine. If you want to sign to a label and you don't really care about all that, you just kind of want to make music and you'll let somebody else do all the work, that's honestly exactly the type of person that a label wants, so you should just go for that. But if you're so passionate about your art and it means so much to you, chances are you're not going to want somebody else to have control over that, no matter how much money is involved. I mean, let's say there was a label for YouTube. I could never have somebody sit here and tell me what videos to post and when to post them and what to talk about, even if they were paying me more than what I would earn online. Because truthfully, I don't need that much. Because you can make a really, really solid living independently. And yeah, when you go mainstream, you could be making millions and millions, but do you really need it? Do you really need all that money? And what comes with it is fame. If that's what you're chasing, go ahead. But there are tons of independent artists out there that have achieved that and they're still making tons of money and they own all their stuff. The main thing is, if you're an artist these days, you also have to be a businessman. You gotta know your stuff and you gotta be creative with how you grow your business. You don't need a label. Yeah, they can do a lot, but you don't need it. So it's definitely something that you should highly be considering if you're an artist in 2019 and beyond. Be very careful, do your research, and I hope you make the right decision if you're an artist and you're watching and this, for whatever reason, was something that you cared about. But even for just the fans, if you ever wondered why an artist hates a label so much, maybe this will give you a better indication of why, or maybe you just wasted 8 to 12 minutes of your life. I don't know. Let me know down below. Like the video. Was it good? Was it alright? You think I did a decent job? Are you an A&R and you're like, dude, that fucking sucked. You suck. You don't know anything. Let me know. I'll see you another day. I'm out.